Greetings from Handbell Musicians of America's 2026 National Seminar in Cincinnati, Ohio, and welcome to our pre-concert introduction to the world of English handbells and hand chime ringing. This week, hundreds of participants from the United States and around the world are immersed in all aspects of handbells, ringing, learning, creating, networking, refining tried and true practices, and experimenting with innovations, reuniting with old friends, and welcoming newcomers. Twice each day we gather to enjoy some of the very best performing ensembles. These concerts are also live streamed and enjoyed by thousands of people, many who know all about handbells, and possibly more who don't. We'd like to fix that. Thanks to a grant from the Coalition of Music Organizations, Handbell Musicians of America offers this pre-concert video to introduce you to the world of handbell and hand chime ringing, its history and culture, the techniques used in performance, and the art and versatility of this wonderful instrument. We hope it enhances your enjoyment and appreciation as you experience handbell ringing in the upcoming concert. English handbell ringing arises from the 16th century tradition of tower change ringing, and are still very much practiced in bell towers around the world. Racks of massive tuned bells mounted on wheels high in the towers are placed in motion by ringers far below, pulling ropes in intricately choreographed patterns. It was, and still is, a very public place to air very loud mistakes across the countryside, a physically demanding exercise, and sometimes an uncomfortably hot or cold setting for practicing and learning the ropes. Smaller bells with handles were cast, corresponding with the tower bell notes, allowing ringers to practice their mathematical change ringing patterns in a more comfortable setting. By the 18th century, with technology improving the accuracy of the pitches, these tuned bells also lent themselves to playing actual songs, and English handbell ringing as we know it was born. Today, thousands of people around the world embrace the art of English handbells, working together in close coordination to make beautiful music. Our organization's roots reach back to 1923, when Margaret Shercliffe gathered a small group of friends on Beacon Hill in Boston to ring her newly acquired set of handbells from England. In 1937, the New England Guild of English Handbell Ringers was formalized. In 1954, this guild sponsored the first American Handbell Festival, and the American Guild of English Handbell Ringers was formed. Ringing ensembles multiplied across the country, many established in churches as a new way to involve members in their music programs. Music educators, recognizing the pedagogical benefits of handbells, adopted them into individual and district-wide school music programs. Ringers, seeking more variety, established community-based performing ensembles, offering workshops for local ringers and concerts of sacred, classical, contemporary, and original music. Some musicians branched out into solo ringing and bell trees, while others discovered the challenge of small ensemble ringing. In 2010, we began doing business as Handbell Musicians of America to better define ourselves in the mainstream music world. This is our vision: uniting people to create a diverse community in which handbell ringers of every skill level realize their full potential through a musically respected art form. Our mission is to advance the musical art of handbell and hand chime ringing through education, community, and communication. Many of our members are teachers as well as performers, instilling a love of music and performance in their students, creating the next generation of ringers, directors, and composers. Ringing events create a sense of community and connection with other young handbell ringers across the country. We are still a relatively young musical art form, open to new ideas and new members. Handbell Musicians of America embraces creativity and diversity in all facets of ringing, as we strive to express our love of handbell ringing with the world at large. What is it about handbell and hand chime ringing that is so enticing? Every ringer has their own reasons, as unique as the instrument we love and as diverse as the music we play. There is a unique allure of this instrument and its growing influence and connection in the musical arts community. Very clearly, ringing with your friends is fun. Ringing is fellowship. Ringing is open to all abilities. It's an amazingly flexible instrument, carrying us to unusual venues, from baseball fields to underground caverns, and everywhere in between. Robust exercise for the body, and a welcoming challenge for the brain. Ringing is an outreach and comfort, an act of worship, a welcoming, hands-on introduction to the world of music, an engaging new skill in later life, a worthy challenge with great rewards, and a lifelong passion that keeps us focused and connected. Ringing can be an individual journey, but more often it's a collaborative group activity with 10 or more of your best friends. In all cases, ringing makes our lives more beautiful and, in turn, inspires and uplifts others when we share our music. We at Handbell Musicians of America hope this brief glimpse into the world of ringing will help you appreciate and understand the passion of the ringers you are about to see and how this instrument works.
Hello, my name is Catherine Gerardo, and this is William J. Murphy, and we're here to share with you a few things about handbells. The three things we'd like to share with you are, number one, what they're made out of, number two, how they make a sound, and three, the range, or how high or low handbells can sound. So number one is what they're made out of. Handbells are made out of a metal alloy made of copper and tin called bronze. And now, as you can see, this bell over here is not made out of bronze. It's actually made out of aluminum, but the majority of our handbells are made out of bronze. The second thing is how they make a sound. Inside our handbells are clappers, and when we ring the bell, the clapper strikes the inside of the bell to make it sound. Now, there are other ways to make sounds on handbells, but we'll talk about that later. For now, we're just going to ring them all for you. So last but not least, we'd like to share with you the sound of the range of handbells. So the first thing is that all of these are the pitch C. So when I say C, that's what it refers to, like A, B, C, D, E, and for G, our musical alphabet. The second thing you'll hear is the number, and the number refers to how high or low. So the lower the number, the lower it sounds and the bigger the bell. The higher the number, the higher it sounds and the smaller the bell. So first we're going to ring for you the C2 handbell. As I'm sure you anticipated, that was a nice low sound. So now we're going to get a little bit smaller and play the C3 handbell. And now we're going to continue on up to the C4. And here's our C5, C6, Getting smaller, C7, C8, and our last one, C9. And this is our handbell family. So besides handbells, we also have hand chimes. And we also have a wide range of hand chimes, just like we do our bells. But the number one thing that is different about them is that they're made out of completely different material. Hand chimes are made out of aluminum, and they're not round like handbells, and the clapper is right on the outside. So again, just as a quick reminder, when I say C, it refers to the pitch. And when we say a number, it refers to how high or low. And that's what the range is, how high or low they sound. So first we're going to have our C2, and then we're going to make it all the way up to our C8, which is obviously our smallest one. Really awesome low sound. And when you get them in the right acoustical location, they sound amazing. So that was our C2, and as you can see, it was pretty much as tall as William. So our next chime will be the C3. So a little bit higher, but still a nice low sound. Next we have our C4 chime. And we're going to continue on up. Here's the C5. And then next our C6. C7. And lastly our little C8. So that is our hand chime family of instruments.
Hi everyone! Many thanks goes to Kathleen Wissinger, who brought us through the history of handbell and hand chime ringing, as well as the history of our organization, Handbell Musicians of America. We also want to thank Catherine Gerardo, who just showed you some of the instruments you're likely to see in this week's concerts. Both of these women serve on the National Board of HMA, the Handbell Musicians of America. My name is Jillian Erlenborn, another member of the National Board of HMA, and I'll be taking you through some of the mechanics of handbell and hand chime ringing. Let's start with some of the equipment you're likely to see in the concert this week. We'll start with the obvious, which is this table that your ringers are likely to be standing behind. Each of the tables will have about 3 to 4 inches of foam on top, which protects the bells for various techniques that you might see, and we'll get into more of that later. You may also notice many of the groups using these binders. We tend to use split back binders that will sit on top of the table or sometimes on top of a riser to keep our music in. Now next up, you'll notice some of our ensembles may decide to use gloves. It's largely a personal preference for the ringer or for the director, but what it does is it helps to protect not only the bell from fingerprints, but also the ringer's hands so that they don't get too sore during the concert. You'll likely see some technique materials such as mallets in various sizes and potentially even wooden dowels, but more on that later. As Catherine mentioned, most of the bells you'll see in this week's concert will be made out of what we call bell bronze. The bell bronze is what makes up the casting, which is that bell shape you see from the exterior of the instrument. That casting is then placed on a handle, which is where the ringer will hold the bell. It is separated by a hand guard, which stops the ringer's hand from coming up and touching the metal and therefore stopping the sound. On the inside of the bell, we have what's known as the clapper mechanism. This mechanism moves from one side to the other in one plane, which is what differentiates this as an English handbell, as opposed to a bell that might have a free-flying clapper inside, like a dinner bell. On the bottom of the bell, on the inside, you have 2 restraining springs, which can be tightened or loosened depending on the ringer's preference. Generally speaking, you're going to have the bell be looser for the strike forward and tighter on the way back. This basically makes it so that the ringer can have an easier time ringing the bell without it accidentally ringing when they're coming back to damp. What is damping? Well, let's start with what is ringing. Can you take your hand and make a little circle with your pointer finger and your thumb? That's what's going to happen right up against the hand guard here. The rest of your 3 fingers are going to just rest pretty lightly on top of the handle. What this does is it gives your bell a nice plateau to rock on, while the other 3 fingers can be used to guide your squeeze of the handle to make that ring happen. When you start, you're going to start at ready to ring position, which is just here on your chest. You're then going to ring forward and down, give that little squeeze, and then bring the bell back up to your chest. That's generally our usual ringing formation. Our stroke is what we call it. Now, when you bring the bell back, that's what we call damping. And damping is how we silence the pitch. So it's important to note the casting is what's making the vibration, right? The metal vibrating is what's creating the sound. Not from the interior of the bell, like say a trumpet, where the air is coming through and that's what's making the vibration. Now, as you are moving your bell back, you want to make sure you get the whole vibration, the whole vibrating casting, to stop. If you only damp the lip of the bell, which is where the fundamental pitch comes from, aka what's on the handle, you'll have what's left over, all of those overtones, which are the higher pitches that give the bell its color. So if I only damp the lip, here's what it'll sound like. Those higher pitches remain. Whereas if I damp the whole casting, I get absolute silence, which is usually what we're after. Now, if I want to ring slightly softer or slightly louder, I really am just adjusting the speed at which the clapper is hitting the bell and the force that I'm using. So if I want a quiet ring, I can make a slow motion that is rather gentle. If I want a loud ring, I can ring the bell pretty forcefully and a bit faster. Now, the size of my ring and the speed at which I'm moving my arms usually has to do with the rhythm. If I'm going to be playing a whole note, I'm going to want a bigger circle that takes a while to get through. If I'm just ringing an eighth note, I might want to make a smaller circle that's closer to my body. There are a lot of similarities between handbells and hand chimes. The main difference, of course, being the shape of the instrument, as well as what it's made out of. The aluminum that is made to use a chime and the 90-degree angles of the body are what create such a pure tone in this instrument. Your ringing stroke is going to be very similar for a chime. The biggest difference is actually your damping. When you go to ring a chime, what happens is the clapper head strikes the chime on what we call the tines. This is where the vibration is occurring. So when you go to damp your chime, if you bring the chime back, clapper first, which is kind of the stroke of a handbell, you're not going to end up damping the chime. Instead, what we need to do is turn the chime inwards so that the tines are what's actually touching the chest of the ringer. Now, most chimes of any size are going to be rung in the same way, with the exception, of course, being the massive chimes that you saw William playing earlier, which are usually struck by a mallet. You'll usually hear handbells measured in the number of octaves that a group plays. An octave is one chromatic scale, including all of the sharps and flats. Many of the groups you're going to be hearing this week are going to be playing between 5 and even more than 7 octaves, which gets close to about 100 bells without even considering all of the extra chimes or specialty instruments they may be using. Handbells and hand chimes are actually a transposing instrument. They sound 1 octave higher than they are written on the grand staff. In order to help you understand what the ringers are looking at in their music, we've decided to scale it back a little bit for you, just for now. This is an example of a 1 octave piece that's intended for 4 ringers. It's a short excerpt of a piece called Peals of Joy, written by Jason Krug. The ringers you're going to be watching are playing between F5 and F6, 1 octave of bells. We hope you enjoy. A full handbell score tends to look like a piano score, but for someone with a few extra fingers, maybe a lot of extra fingers. To make things a little bit more manageable, we're going to be using that 1-octave music you just heard. It will make it a little easier for us to show you what each individual person is actually doing. In most cases, one ringer is in charge of 2 pitches, for example, A and B. We're going to be watching a video of William, one of the ringers from the quartet you heard, playing that exact position. In this case, William's left hand bells, his A notes, will be highlighted in blue, and his right hand notes, his B notes, or in this case B flat, will be highlighted in red, and you'll see that along the bottom of the score. For an extra challenge, why don't you try to air ring along to see if you can keep up? Now let's try that one more time with the whole group back in again, because playing handbells is a lot more fun when you've got the whole set. This time, the group will be playing the same piece an octave lower, so you can hear the difference an octave makes. We'll leave William's score highlighted for you on the screen so that you can keep ringing along. As you get into more complicated music, there are an ever-growing number of techniques that handbell ringers use to create different timbres, or different sounds, on their instruments. Your composers and arrangers will show you what they would like to have happen in the score based on a series of markings that they might place. I will show you what those markings are as I show you which technique we're talking about. The first set of ones we'll talk about are our stopped techniques, which are also known as staccato techniques, meaning that the sound of the pitch is going to stop after the technique is done. For instance, our first technique is going to be a pluck. A pluck is shown by a small dot above the note, a staccato marking, as well as the letters PL. We're going to accomplish this by grabbing the clapper on the inside of the bell and throwing it to the casting. Okay, that's our pluck. It's usually done in the lower bells as a kind of percussive, fun, driving rhythm kind of technique. You can also do it up top. I don't think it has the same effect. That's just my personal preference. Next up, I'll show you the thumb damp, which is exactly what you think it is. You're going to place your thumb on the casting of the bell and play it like so. I think these create more of a castanet-like sound for the higher pitches. You can also add an extra finger or two to get an even drier sound if that's what you're after. With the bigger bells, you definitely want to add a couple of extra fingers because otherwise that vibration is just not going to stop. Now, we can also do this technique on our hand chimes by placing our finger in the tuning slot, which is the space between the tines here. Or with our bigger chime. Right? That is also shown again by that polka dot, the staccato marking, as well as the letters T, D. Next up, I have a plethora of mallets here. Our mallets are shown by the same staccato marking with a plus above the dot. Now, each of these mallets is a different size and color, and each one will create a different sound on the different sizes of bells, and they're designed for a particular size. So I'm going to use this mallet for our G4, and I'm going to strike the bell at just about the same spot that the clapper head would strike the bell on the inside. I can do the same with our smaller bell and our smaller mallet. You won't really see mallets being asked for chimes because it basically does the same thing as the clapper head hitting the tine on the other side. However, you will use those mallets on those really large hand chimes that William showed us earlier in the video. After our stop sounds, we have what are called sustained techniques, and those will sustain the pitch as opposed to stopping them right away. For instance, you might see an arrow pointing up and an arrow pointing down next to a longer pitch. This would be our swing. It's also sometimes marked as SW. A swing starts with a regular ring, and then you're going to take your back leg and bring the bell down to it, and then bring your bell back up. Like so. Usually the ringer will be facing forward and take a step back. I have to be very aware of my wall behind me. And that's going to create kind of a Doppler effect. It's very cool when multiple people do it at the same time, especially in a chord. Now, one of our stop techniques that I skipped over is called a mart. And a mart is when you take the handbell and you push it into the table. Its full name is actually martellato, which is Italian for to hammer. So you take your bell and you hammer it into the table. We're thankful for that foam right about now. Now, to make that a sustained technique, we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to bounce off of the table. And that's our mart lift. One technique that you saw earlier in the Peals of Joy video, right towards the end, Catherine has a shake. And you can do that by doing exactly what you think, shaking the bell. You'll notice some ringers shake it front to back, and some ringers will actually turn the bell and shake it side to side, especially if they'll be doing that for a long time. You always want to be moving along with your shake so you can still get that sense of breath control and a change in dynamic as you're playing. Now, another sustained technique that I really like is called an echo. You're going to ring the bell and you're going to touch the lip of the casting to the table, which will create a little womp womp kind of sound. That's another one that's really cool with the more people playing it. Now, the last one that I want to show you that you're likely to see in this week's concerts is a singing bell. This is kind of similar to a Tibetan bowl, if you've ever seen one of those, where you're going to take a wooden dowel and you're going to run it around the rim of the bell. Now, you'll notice it takes a little while for it to get started, but once it does, you'll have a really long sustained pitch that just makes the bell sound like it's consistently singing. Whenever the ringer wants that to stop, they'll simply lift the wooden dowel off, and the bell will either be held to sustain or damped. Now, at any point, a composer or arranger wants us to not damp and continue the sound for a longer period of time. They will likely write the letters LV, which stand for let vibrate. When you see a let vibrate, it basically means don't damp until you're told to again. That will be when there is a little bullseye sign, or if the letter R appears, which basically tells you to go back to regular ringing technique. You may also see some of the ringers in the concerts holding multiple bells and/or chimes in one hand at one time. This is a very helpful technique, particularly for the higher treble ringers, when they have to play multiple octaves of the same pitches to bulk up a chord or a melody line. They can also use this technique to ring multiple bells that are maybe sharps and flats of each other in quick succession without having to come back down to the table. We call this four-in-hand. Usually, you'll have two bells laying on top of each other's handles, where one bell remains in the regular ringing formation, right, with the handle and the letter name facing you, while the other bell will only ring on the plane as if you were knocking on a door. With this setup, you can isolate the two notes, ringing regularly, ringing in that knock formation, or you can play them at the same time by finding about a 45-degree angle between the bells for them to ring together. Now you'll notice those were two bells of the same pitch in two different octaves. If I'm going to do that consistently, sometimes what I'll do is I will turn this lower bell so that the two clapper heads are facing in the same direction and their planes are equal. Now this way, when I go to knock, both of those bells will ring at the same time. If I don't want to do that and I want to be able to isolate them, I'll usually use what we call four-in-hand as opposed to what I just did, which is called Shelley. Now, as I mentioned before, there might be a time where a treble ringer specifically has to ring multiple bells very quickly with the sharps and flats. If I organize my bells in a smart way, I can go up and down a chromatic scale without having to put any bells on the table or pick anything back up. Now, when things get really complicated, sometimes you might need 3 bells in one hand. When that happens, it is generally 3 different octaves of the same pitch. So here I have G5, G6, and G7. If I hold these bells like so, with this highest bell now being held by my pinky, I can ring all of these bells in the 3 octaves, which will really help to fill out a chord. This happens especially at the ends of pieces, so keep a lookout for that during the concerts. We hope that this video has given you some insight into what's going to be happening on the other side of the table during the concert you're about to watch. Special thanks again goes to the American Musicological Society's Coalition of Music Organizations, who made this video and our pre-concert lectures possible through a public outreach grant. We are so thankful for your support and for helping to make this a possibility. We hope you all enjoy the concert. Thank you for watching.
Hello, everybody. Hi, Mitchell. How are you? Welcome to day 4 of National Seminar here at the Sharonville Convention Center. Hope you're all having a lovely time. Are you? Excellent. As you all know very well by now, I'm Linda Honorevoli, the Executive Director of this fine organization, Handbell Musicians of America. I am honored to lead you. As I say, my circus, my monkeys, so thank you for everything. For those of you who have watched or have been here before and watched our live streams, I usually say hello to my mom watching online. We lost her 15 months ago, so instead I'm going to say hi to Derek Nance's mom. Derek is one of our live stream team members. So hi, Mrs. Nance, wherever you are. Speaking of the live stream, not a lime stream, I think I'm channeling a gin and tonic for later. Unofficially off the clock. Welcome to our live stream viewers. Derek, is it still camera 3? Hi, live stream. And as you know, we are sponsored by and thank you. Wilson Van Tyne and Phillips 66 are our live stream sponsors for the entire year. We are very, very grateful for that. We are also grateful to PBS CET for being the media sponsor of all of our National Seminar concerts. Thank you, PBS. Support your local PBS station. And now the boring stuff. Please silence your cell phones. Please, if you walk out during the concert, for whatever reason, please hold the door until the very, very, very end so it doesn't clunk. Thank you. And also please refrain from chatting with your friends during the actual performance. We're so very grateful to everyone who's been here performing this week. They have all worked so very hard to be here and are giving amazing performances. So thank you for being good audiences too. So now, please join me in welcoming Chicago Bronze, directed by Andrea Handley.
Good afternoon. We are thrilled to be here today, not only to share our music with you, a whole room full of handbell enthusiasts who actually know what we're doing up here, but also to share with you our city. To live in Chicago is to love Chicago, even when it happens to have the worst air quality of any city in the entire world. And you're going to hear all kinds of stories this afternoon about what makes Chicago a great place to live. And with that, I will turn it over to our narrator, Kevin Kivico.
Chicago, our boisterous city that grew up on our broad inland sea, Lake Michigan. The lake provides our pure drinking water. It's where we play on its sun-drenched beaches and set sail on its wind-tossed waves. The lake warms us in the winter and cools us in the summer. When dense fog rolls in from the lake, only the tallest buildings hover above the clouds. Powerful winds can send torrents of water cascading across Lakeshore Drive. Lake effect snow can dump a foot or more of the white stuff on us. Michael J. Glasgow's composition, Lakestorm, captures our beloved lake's ever-changing nature, from calm serenity to roiling intensity. On a sweltering and wind-blown night in October 1871, following a summer of intense heat and drought, an overturned lantern sparked a conflagration that would destroy 17,000 structures and leave more than 100,000 homeless. The Great Chicago Fire spread quickly and soon overwhelmed the city's fire department. Wind-driven flames consumed building after building. When the courthouse steeple collapsed, its great bell crashed to earth and could be heard a mile away. The city burned for 2 full days, stopped only by heavy rains. Blistering, smoldering, mile-wide remains stretched for 4 miles along the lakefront. Chicagoans' spirits remained not only unbroken by the fire, but in fact were rekindled. The first load of lumber was delivered before the last flames were extinguished. Tons of debris were dumped into the lake, creating new land for more homes and businesses. The resurrection of a great city had begun. May Chicago Bronze's performance of Benjamin A. Tucker's Spiritfire ignite something special for each of you. As the Great Fire's ashes cooled, the great rebuilding began. The Chicago Tribune boldly declared, "Chicago shall rise again." Investments poured in, people pitched in. Chicagoans tore down ruined walls and hauled away tons of debris. New laws made brick, stone, marble, limestone, and terracotta the city's new and durable skin. Within a decade, a Chicago architect designed a new skeleton made of steel, and the first skyscraper soared above the skyline. Chicago's recovery from disaster required patience and ponderous determination from every citizen. It exemplified resilience. The apt title of our next selection, a work composed by Alex Guebert that paints the picture of a difficult journey from uncertainty to perseverance to triumph. Chicago's winters require a special kind of resilience. When cold, wet winds sweep in from across the lake, or when a polar vortex bears down on the city, we can measure snowfall not in inches, but in feet. And forecasts often include minus signs. There are rules in winter. Wear a hat, dress in layers, walk like a penguin. Respect dibs. Don't you dare move that beat-up lawn chair reserving a freshly shoveled parking spot. Winter winds may rip the hats from our heads. A gray glaze of road salt may coat our cars. Our backs may ache from clearing our driveways. Slush may stain our shoes. Sane people may wonder why we live there. But winter enchants Chicagoans. We skate, we sled, we build snowmen. And what kid doesn't love a snow day? With the right attitude, Chicago can be a winter wonderland. And that's our next selection, composed by Felix Bernard and arranged for handbells by Joel Raney. The Windy City, a well-known nickname. Is it a reference to the drafty gales that tear belongings from hands and wreak havoc on hairdos? Well, that does make sense. Perhaps the legendary verbosity of our civic boosters inspired the term. Quite true. However, did you know that the first reference to Chicago as the Windy City was uttered right here in Cincinnati? In the 1800s, the two cities competed fiercely in everything from baseball to hog butchering. Cincinnati's massive meatpacking industry earned it the nickname Porkopolis. When Chicago's stockyards surpassed those of Cincinnati, Chicago laid claim to that odd moniker. So Cincinnatians coined the term the Windy City as an insult. The complex harmonies and melodies of Sondra K. Tucker's composition, Crosswind, evoke Chicago's shifting currents, both meteorological and metaphorical. The White Sox, the Cubs, the Fire, the Bulls, the Blackhawks, the Stars, the Sky, and of course, the Bears. Chicagoans are united in their love of their professional sports teams. When it comes to baseball, though, we gotta pick sides. No one is a Sox fan and a Cubs fan. If you live on the north side, chances are you wear Cubby blue and hang out in Wrigleyville. Southsiders' passions are painted in black and white, and they wax nostalgic about old Comiskey Park. The rivalry reaches its peak when the two teams meet in the Crosstown Classic. The CTA's Red Line train passes by both parks. Gets a lot of traffic on those game days. So, in that spirit, we celebrate the competition between the Chicago Cubs and the Chicago White Sox with Doolin banjos, composed by Arthur Smith and arranged by Andrea Handley. Play ball! thank you doesn't fully express our appreciation for the chance to be a part of this prestigious event. The members of Chicago Bronze truly enjoy being among people as passionate about the art of handbell ringing as all of you are. As you heard me say earlier, Chicago experiences some pretty intense winters. But then come the spring, summer, and autumn months. In other words, construction. When the weather turns warmer and the snow plows head back to their garages, jackhammers start jackhammering, car horns start honking, backup beepers start beeping, and tempers start fraying. The Second City's second season has begun. We'll close today's concert with Andrea Handley's curiously cacophonous composition, Construction. Thanks for listening.
Andrea Handley, Chicago Bronze. Thank you so much. It was wonderful. Hello, my name is Greg Ashurst, president of the Handbell Musicians of America, and that was wonderful. Thank you, Andrea. Thank you for Chicago Bronze for an outstanding performance today. We look forward to hearing more of you. One day soon, hope. That was wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much, and we'll see you back here this evening, right?